You know, it's a weird paradox, right? You'd think the more successful people become, the more connected they'd be. I mean, you have more resources, more access, more choice. But it turns out, genuine connection actually gets structurally harder. Today, we're going to break down exactly why that is. Check this out. This quote from Billie Eilish, it doesn't sound like a victory speech, does it? It sounds like pressure. This is what success actually feels like for so many people. Not freedom, but this crushing weight of everyone's needs and expectations. And that feeling is really the key to understanding this whole thing. So that's the big question we're diving into. Why is it that reaching the top so often feels like you're completely and totally alone? And the answer isn't some kind of personal failure. Nope. It's a series of structural barriers that pop up the higher you climb. Just let that sink in for a second. The legendary TV producer Shonda Rhimes, we're talking the creator of Grey's Anatomy's Scandal, she had to leave the city where she built her entire empire just to feel normal. She said in LA she could give pretty much anyone a job, so every single interaction, even with friends, felt like it could be a transaction. Getting a Costco card was a breakthrough. That perfectly shows you how success can just strip away all the ordinary stuff. All right, so let's get into it. We've basically identified 5 key barriers that show up when you become successful. And the very first one is what we call the shrinking circle. It's this counterintuitive idea that your world of people you can genuinely connect with actually gets smaller, not bigger. So, in sociology, there's this concept of weak ties, and these are basically the lifeblood of a normal social life. You know, the acquaintance at the gym, the friend you have from a hobby, the person you chat with at the coffee shop. But as your status goes up, those organic, agenda-free connections get replaced by transactional ones. Mentors, employees, advisors, admirers, basically people who see you for your position. And here's where it gets really tricky. It's a double bind. It's not just about the new people coming in. As Shonda Rhimes points out, some of your old friends might actually start to resent your new life. They're not ready for this new version of you. So you've got new people seeing you as a resource, and some old friends pulling away. Your circle is literally shrinking from both sides at the same time. And that leaves us straight into the second barrier, what we call the performance trap. The idea here is that the professional armor you build to succeed, the confidence, the decisiveness, the I got this attitude, it slowly becomes a personal wall that just keeps everybody out. The researcher Brené Brown has this amazing term for it, vulnerability hangover. You know that feeling, right? That little cringe you get after you share something real. Well, for people with a public profile or a big reputation to protect, that fear is magnified 100 times over. Admitting you're struggling feels like it could tear down everything you've built. Just listen to Malala Yousafzai. The whole world saw her as this incredible symbol of strength, and she internalized it. She felt like she had to perform that strength all the time, even to herself. But that pressure to be a symbol instead of a person, well, it stops you from just being human, and it makes authentic connection almost impossible. Okay, our third barrier. This one might just be the most painful of all, the trust deficit. See, success fundamentally changes the entire nature of trust. The moment you have something that other people want, status, money, influence, a new, really corrosive question worms its way into every single interaction. The amazing author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie just nails it here. The central question becomes, do they like me or do they like what I can do for them? Every new person you meet is a potential calculation. How can you possibly be open and unguarded in a world like that? And look, this isn't just a feeling people have. The data actually backs this up. Research from UC Berkeley shows that as people gain power, their ability to read other people's emotions, their empathy, it actually goes down. Other studies show that while your professional network explodes, your core personal support system, the people you can really, truly count on, it gets smaller. The fourth barrier is a bit more logistical, but it is just as damaging. Success demands your time, of course, but more than that, it demands your presence, your attention, and that becomes an incredibly scarce resource. 62. According to a Harvard Business School study, that's the average number of hours high achievers work every single week. And get this, 72% say they feel like they're always on. This isn't just about not having free time. It's about your attention being shattered into a million pieces, even when you are physically with someone you care about. The psychologist John Gottman talks about bids for connection. These are the tiny, tiny moments. A shared look, a small question, a hand on someone's shoulder. that are the actual building blocks of a relationship. When your mind is always on work, you miss these bids. And relationships can basically starve to death from 1,000 tiny missed moments. And that brings us to the fifth and final barrier. And this one's the ultimate irony. The very personality traits that helped you succeed, your drive, your independence, your resilience, those can become massive roadblocks to intimacy. You're used to solving problems, right? To managing outcomes and optimizing everything. But you can't optimize another human being. Relationships are messy, they're uncertain, and they absolutely refuse to follow the kind of logic that works so well in your career. Intimacy requires you to surrender control, and for a high achiever, that can feel absolutely terrifying. So, we've covered the why. We've gone through the 5 barriers. Now, let's look at how this all actually plays out in the real world. Let's take a look at the frustrating, complicated experience of modern dating. And this just brilliantly illustrates the fundamental mismatch. Dating apps promise efficiency and access, but your problem isn't a lack of access, it's a lack of trust and depth. So the apps just give you a bigger and bigger pool of people to perform for, which actually amplifies your problem instead of solving it. And because this is such a deep structural problem, the common, well-meaning advice that people give, it just completely misses the point. So let's quickly break down why those easy answers don't work. You hear this all the time, right? Just be more vulnerable. Yeah, that ignores the real stakes. Date within your circle is great advice, until you realize your circle is tiny and full of professional landmines. Lower your standards? That's just insulting. It assumes the issue is you being picky, not the toxic environment you're in. And telling someone to work on themselves, the problem isn't internal, it's the external world that has changed around them. So what do? This is the crucial point right here. You cannot solve a structural problem with personal advice. It's not about trying harder with tools that are broken. It's about completely redesigning your entire approach to connection. And that really brings us to the ultimate takeaway. True freedom, it turns out, isn't about having all the resources to be completely independent. It's about building a life and finding the people that allow you to finally take the armor off, to stop performing and to just be yourself. So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. Just take an honest look at your own life, your schedule, your environment, the way you interact with people. Is it actually designed to create genuine, agenda-free connection, or has it, maybe without you even realizing it, been optimized for something else entirely?